Terima kasih kami sampaikan kepada Ibu Nuning Nuraini, Mr. Nathaniel Faibis, dan juga Miss Leva Nasani sebagai speaker pada sesi kali ini, dan juga kepada Mbak Raudah selaku moderator yang sudah memandu diskusi panel yang pertama. Selanjutnya, diingatkan kembali kepada teman-teman semua, dimohon dapat mengisi form feedback yang sudah disediakan oleh panitia pada kolom chat. Nah, sebelum masuki sesi selanjutnya, ada pengumuman menarik nih dari panitia. Ada giveaway bagi 10 pemenang berupa saldo GoPay senilai Rp100.000 untuk tiap pemenangnya. Nah, caranya silahkan posting foto teman-teman selama mengikuti kegiatan DSW hari ketiga ini di Instagram Story. Lalu tuliskan caption yang menarik tentang alasan teman-teman sekalian tertarik dengan speaker atau mungkin dari topiknya ataupun juga dari sesi yang berlangsung. Jangan lupa tag Instagram @datascienceindo dan juga @datascienceweekends dengan hashtag DSW 2021. Mention ketiga teman kamu yang menurut kamu wajib nonton live streaming DSW ini. Dan periode giveaway berlangsung sampai jam 2 nanti siang. Jadi buat teman-teman langsung aja sekarang bisa posting di Instagram Story. Nah, selanjutnya kita akan masuk ke panel diskusi yang kedua pada hari ini. Di sesi ini kita akan membahas isu mengenai data-driven pandemic handling yang akan disampaikan oleh narasumber ahli dari Jakarta Smart City dan juga GovTech Singapura, serta akan dipandu oleh Deputy Knowledge Management dari Komunitas Data Science Indonesia. Bagi teman-teman yang ingin menyampaikan pertanyaan kepada narasumber, silahkan saja langsung mengakses link Slido yang sudah kami berikan pada kolom chat. Langsung saja kepada Mbak Dita Amalia selaku moderator, kami persilahkan.
Thank you, Anissa Larasati, as our MC. Hello everyone, good morning. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi data people, welcome to Talks Data-Driven Pandemic Handling. Before we start this session, let me introduce myself. I'm Dita Amalia and I will be host of the session with the speaker Juan Kangrawan and Stephen Ko. Hi Juan, hi Stephen. Can
Hello.
you hear me well?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Hi.
All right then. Thank you to Juan and Stephen for coming and sharing about how the government handled the COVID-19 pandemic in this session. Also, we want to say welcome and thank you for our audience, data enthusiasts who is still participating in this event, Data Science Weekend 2021, by the theme Rebalancing the Power. This event is held by Data Science Indonesia, the biggest data science community in Indonesia. And not to forget, we would like to thank all our sponsors, media partners, and community partners who have supported our Data Science Weekend. For our sponsors, Microsoft, Esri, Data Academy, Jabar Digital Service, and ICRA that has been so generous in supporting our events. And our media partners, DeepTech and Lokadata that help us to publish the first biggest data science event in this year, and other community partners such as AI for Impact, Primelogic, Jakarta Machine Learning, Our Ladies, and Data Science Center, University of Indonesia. Okay, I just want to remind you guys that all of your questions can be redirected in the Slido. The link of the Slido has been put into YouTube comment section. And so please do check the Slido link while you're watching our discussion. Before we start, let me introduce our speakers. These two speakers are people who have played an important role in digital transformation in the government to handle COVID-19 pandemic. For the first speaker is Juan Kangrawan. Bapak Juan Kangrawan is the head of data analytics in Jakarta Smart City. He is the person behind of the scenes Jakarta digital transformation development who support our government with planning, building, and developing data portfolio products through Jakarta digital application that has been used by Jakarta society. And we have another speaker that coming from Singapore, Stephen Ko. Stephen Koh is the director at the Government Digital Services team in GovTech Singapore. He's the person who initiated agile development in tech community since 2013 and now boasts over more than 10,000 members. Wow. And he is also the person behind the LT use cases such as OpenSearch, HealthSearch, and ThreatTrust, which are helping the Singapore government in reducing the negative impact of this pandemic. If you want to know about these various digital products, maybe you can see the explanation later, yeah? All right, I believe that most of you are already waiting to what Stephen and Juan are going to say about data-driven pandemic handling. So I just want to say hi first to our speakers. I know I've been talking too much, but Stephen and Juan, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
How's the weather in there?
Yeah, I'm staying in Jakarta, so it's sunny here. Sunny Sunday morning. It's nice.
Okay, great. Then if you have a good weather there, so I hope that you guys can also have a good time here while our audience has been waiting for you, even though because of this pandemic, we just having online discussion, yeah. Okay, so maybe we can go to Stephen first. Without any further ado, I would like to invite you, Stephen, to start your presentation, and we are going to listen to your thoughts. Please, Stephen.
Okay, thank you. We try to share the screen.
Yeah, you can just share screen. Or maybe from our committee can help us to share screen.
Should be okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I see your screen.
Okay, great. Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming here on Sunday. I'm going to talk about our digital solution with regards to tackling this pandemic issue, primarily on health. But before that, maybe it's a lot easier if I just give you a quick overview of GovTech and GDS, my team. So we have the Prime Minister Office, and under the Prime Minister Office, we have SNDGG, which is right in the center, Smart Nation and Digital Government Group. Within there, we have the Policymaker, which is Smart Nation Digital Government Office, SNDGO on the left. And then on the right, we have GovTech, which is where I'm in. So GovTech is more on the delivery arm of digital solution for the whole of government, whereas SNDGO is something like a ministry who takes care of the policy work. We work together very closely. Within GovTech, we have almost 3,000 people, and there are three groups. One is on the left, governance. Primarily, they set the policies and governance and procurement, outsourcing and whatnot, and also the security requirement. And the center, we have services. That we have CIO, Chief Information Officer, and other officers who are embedded in the rest of the government agencies. And on the right, that's where I am in product group. So product group, we basically have two teams or two divisions. We call it product management, and the other one is product engineering. So my background, I'm a software engineer by training. So I'm in a government digital service right there under the capability center. And in the capability center, there's data science and sensors and whatnot. Yeah. And on the left, I'm more on product management strategies and all that. Yeah. So these are the various tools on the top that we have developed during this COVID situation, as well as some of them has been there before COVID, and then we extended those features to help to tackle what happened over the past 1 year. And below is more on the existing capabilities, the tech stack, the commercial cloud and all that has been there before this COVID hit us. Today I'm going to focus a lot more on the first row, which is technology specifically for to tackle this pandemic situation. So we have Trace Together and Safe Entry program in Singapore. So basically, Trace Together is a Bluetooth-enabled app that the citizens will download and use, as well as a token. All right, so that we call that Trace Together or TT token that the citizens can carry as well. You can choose either one when you go out, and then it will use Bluetooth protocol to detect and exchange signal with other Trace Together user. All right, so this is to help with contact tracing. No location information is being collected for the Trace Together. So think of it like a way to track the proximity, who has been with around you, within prolonged period, say 15 minutes, and then MOH like 2-3 meter apart, stuff like that. So if anything happened, we will know exactly like how can we reduce, how can we contact tracing in a more effective and efficient way. So with Trace Together, we are very proud to say that for manual contact tracing, which typically takes about 4 to 5 days, we have reduced it to less than 2 days, on average about 1 to 2 days, 1.5 days with this tool, Trace Together. So right now, there is more than 90% adoption across Singapore. So on the right, we have Safe Entry. Safe Entry is basically a way for people to check into premises when they enter a location, be it shopping malls and whatnot. So that for this Safe Entry, we collect the identifier as well as the location data. So it's a more of a blunt tool compared to Trace Together. I'm very proud to say that last month we have the Trace Together included inside the Safe Entry, so that now we call it a Safe Entry gateway. So what you see on the right, this picture, this is actually a Safe Entry gateway. So people can just approach and bring the token, the white color pebble looking thing, near it, say 30 centimeter near, and it will give a beep. Or you can bring a Trace Together app near it, and then it will also give a beep. So this is a more convenient and seamless way to do a Safe Entry check-in by using the Trace Together protocol. So we kind of bring out the best of both products together. Yeah. All right. Another product, in fact, this product I'm going to talk about for the remaining session is more on HealthCert. So HealthCert is a set of digital standards and schema for issuing COVID-19 test result certificates, PCR test. We also use that for serology test, ART test, and vaccination as well, vaccination cert. Okay. It's in line with FHIR, which is a FHIR is actually used internationally. So if you look at the recent published specs by WHO, they also recommended, they also mentioned this in the specs, as well as based on our MOH, Ministry of Health requirement, so that we contain a minimum set of data. I think there are 6 mandatory fields in there for vaccination. Yeah. The whole intent of this HealthCert is to have a digital solution that is interoperable with other countries and technology, verifiable on its own, so that you don't need to connect to any central database to verify the authenticity of it, and it's tamper-proof, so nobody can tamper it. There are 4 parts to it, but I'm going to touch on this three of it first. One is the schema, which I just talked about. Just like what are the data fields in the HealthCerts. Another one is we call Notarize. So this is actually a platform we developed to officiate the digital document. Example one, HealthCert is one of them. Because in the case of a PRC test and all the various serology tests, these are actually decentralized and privatized. So how can we enable other country to trust this certificate, HealthCert certificate that's been issued by private sector? So we have go through this notarization process where the government will have a digital way that automatically authenticate the veracity of the HealthCert, and then we sign on it, all right? So we endorse it, and then as traveler can bring this HealthCert to other country that will be recognized because the government signed on it. We also have a portal called Verify, verify.gov.sg. It is basically a platform for anyone with a HealthCert to verify it hasn't been tampered with. as well. And also the e-wallet, we'll talk about later. So the library that runs HealthCert is actually open attestation. So it is actually a framework that we open sourced in about 3 years ago, 3 to 4 years ago, that we use. It uses blockchain to issue cryptographically trustworthy document. There's a lot of big words. So in the long, you just cut the story short. It's basically you have a document, all right, that is not attached or linked, no API at all to any central database. Then how do you know this is not tampered? And then this is issued by the right issuer, which is like Singapore government, and whether it has been revoked or not. So that's the gist of it. So with this open attestation technology that we open source, we use that. First use case is OpenCert that we use for educational credential, and then follow up we use it for trade trust, which is basically trade document like bit of lading, certificate of non-manipulation, and so on and so forth. And then past few months we use it for HealthCert as well. Started to use it for HealthCert. So these are the checks that it does. Or you see on the bottom left. First of all, it check whether it's issued by a known issuer, a whitelisted issuer, legit, accredited labs or clinics. Then it check for the hash generated by the document and HealthCert document, and this compare this hash against what is published on the blockchain. In this case, we use Ethereum, and it's issued on Ethereum network on the document store, and it hasn't been revoked yet. So let's say if you discover any fraudulent case and all that, or incorrectly issued cert, we can actually revoke it. This is something that you can't do that with PDF, because once you sign on a PDF, you send it out, there's no way you can revoke it. So it allows the country to revoke, to have a to allow decentralized issuance, yet still have a centralized control over the veracity of the digital document. So on the right hand side, you can see the flow and how it goes. So the document is a JSON format, so it's readable, it's text readable, so anybody can read it. And the best part of it, because we open source it, then other countries and other issuers can take and use. So we have 10 providers so far who have used that, and 30 over locations, countries, and 400 plus clinics and labs. These are like, I can say, like Knowledge Catalyst. I think on the second row, the third one on the left, is actually on in Indonesia as well. And Collinson, I think they have a lot of presence in Indonesia and Malaysia as well. Tribe ID on the bottom right is a Canadian company. They have presence in Europe, US, and Canada. AOK Pass in Japan and whatnot. So it's really all over the world, and we have 3D certs in Australia as well. So very proud to say that because of what we have open source and the private issuers have taken and used, it helped to drive the adoption of it and benefit other countries and other clinics beyond Singapore as well. Verify, we have also open source the verify.gov.sg. You can check it out. The website is there. We provided a link so that any other country can use that to verify HealthCert if they want to, if they implement it. They can embed their own rules to check for their own whitelisted labs and clinics, which is different across countries. Yeah. Since we have open source, they have other companies like AITA or Affinity. They are using what the libraries that we open source to provide verification services through APIs and all that. Yeah. So what I have here is basically a HealthCert sample QR code. I'd like to pause a while and invite you all to take out a phone and scan the QR code, if you don't mind. So you can get a better understanding of what I mean by this HealthCert, how is it rendered and how is it displayed. So the good thing about this QR code is that it can be read by any generic QR code reader from any phone. Will bring you there. The HealthCert issuer, in this case, or from clinics and labs, they will email the citizens this file attachment together with the QR code so that the citizens can print out if they are not digitally savvy. They want a hard copy, they can print out as well, or it can be in an email and then they can display it and let the checkpoint border control officer scan it. Or even better, you can have an e-wallet to implement this so that this is not a static QR code, then it will be generated dynamically for one-time read. So after you share it, whoever read it, scan it, it will be removed. All right. So it's better privacy there. So the e-wallet implementation has also been open source. So other companies can feel free to take and use. This is how the flow looks like on our SingPass mobile app. SingPass mobile is our national digital identity app. Our citizens, I think we have about close to 2.8 million users using SingPass mobile app. And then citizens, they can access their health cert through the SingPass mobile app. As you can see on the left, the second tab, second inbox folder. So you click on it, then it will show the one on the right. It will show the results, your passport number, blah, blah, blah. And then you can display this QR code, right? And anybody who scan it, it will bring you to the right-hand side, Dan Chen Chen, right? So this is how it looks like. Yeah, and you can see the check it did, like issued by who, MOH. It's been issued, not tampered with, by checking the hash. The issuer is indeed, which in this case is Raffles Medical Group. So actually a whitelisted lab. And it's from .gov.sg, so no spoofing is allowed because we use the government domain. So when you scan, what it does is basically it passes the URL of where to download the cert, and then it also passes an encryption key, so you can use the encryption key when you download. The verify will decrypt it, all right, so it's not in clear, and then you render it. I mentioned that the open source e-wallet reference to implementation is there. You can take a look at it, OA Wallet. There are also, like I said, because it's open source, other companies have taken use it. AOK Pass is using it, Accreditify Digital Health Passport, and many more as well. Let's talk about integration and interoperability, because the main use of this health cert is to enable safe travel, right? So it's really about how can other country recognize, how can other country use it? Because as you know, we also not just vaccinate our citizens, we also vaccinate other country citizens as well, who are working here, long-term visit pass, as well as our migrant workers as well. Yeah. So to use health cert to issue, you can check out the link. So basically over there, it will direct you to the open attestation, and you have a technical document on how to download library and use it. It's primarily in JavaScript, no proprietary technology there, or open source. And then if you find that the fields that we have, the schemas that we have is not appropriate, you want something more, and all, you can just submit a pull request to us. You can take a look and then append to it. We're actually checking against what is published from WHO. So far, so good. We are in line with them. Minimum data required for privacy reason. And then you can also create a verify.gov.some equivalent for your immigration officers use. Or if not, if you don't want to develop yourself, you prefer to just get a private vendor to do that, you can also talk to any of our health certs partners who are doing it, providing as a service. More links here. So I've written a technical blog. I've had 2 of it on the second and the third link. You can check it out if you're a geek, you like more deep dive and technical details, and there's some videos there as well. Yep, that's about it. That's all I have. Thank you very much. Terima kasih. Thank you. Have any questions, just feel free to drop me an email, and my LinkedIn is right at the bottom. Just reach out to me. Cool. Yeah. I can't hear you.
All right. Thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you. I believe that a lot of people are already happy because they get new knowledge from what you explained in this presentation. Right now, we also have 3 videos that has been prepared by Pak Juan from Jakarta Smart City. So, data enthusiasts, please let's take a look at these clips.
Yeah, so just give me a quick remarks as well. So
welcome to Jakarta Smart City.
Yeah, our marketing team, I think, has been working with the organizers. So I was told that there is an ongoing video, that has been agreed to be shown. So hopefully this can give you a bit of overview of the smart city, and maybe later I can give a quick remarks as well what we have done from analytics perspective in terms of COVID-19. So hopefully these videos can give you a glimpse of overview what we have done and who we are in terms of smart city and some of the key initiatives that we have been driving so far. Thank you.
Welcome to Jakarta Smart City. A smart city is a concept that utilizes information technology to provide more effective and efficient public services. To achieve this, Jakarta applies the Jakarta Smart City 4.0 framework as a foundation and a guideline for realizing a better Jakarta. Jakarta Smart City upholds four main principles: mobile first, system and data-driven tech, digital experience, smart collaboration. The first principle is mobile first. As the name implies, this principle is the main guideline for Jakarta Smart City in developing various innovations, especially those that can be experienced directly through a mobile application. Currently, Jakarta Smart City is developing Jaki, a multi-purpose super app which integrates various digital services and official information in the Jakarta provincial government, tailored specifically for citizen use. The second principle is system and data-driven tech. There are millions of data analyzed by the Jakarta Smart City team, including transportation statistics, community reports, environmental data, and much more. This principle aims to support data-based policymaking and visualizes data in a way that can be easily understood by all Jakartans. The third is digital experience. Jakarta Smart City invites Jakarta residents to understand and use digital services in Jakarta through various events held at Jakarta Smart City. You can attend various programs such as Jasja Talks, Jasja Sandbox, and Jasja Lab. These Jakarta Smart City programs present training on various digital innovations in Jakarta so that citizens can make proper use of all of our innovations. Last but not least, smart collaborations. Through this principle, Jakarta Smart City invites all citizens of Jakarta, including academics, startups, companies, government apparatus, and many others to collaborate in improving Jakarta's public services. Currently, there are more than 8 startups that have collaborated with the Jakarta provincial government. During the COVID-19 pandemic, Jakarta Smart City collaborated with various parties to provide updated information for Jakarta residents. For this, we have developed corona.jakarta.co.id. Through this website, citizens can stay updated with various official information on COVID-19 in Jakarta, such as case development data, maps, social assistance, KSBB programs, as well as legal publications. For mobile users, you can also get this information and self-assess your risk of COVID-19 through Jakarta Tanggap COVID-19 and Jak CLM on Jaki app. You can download Jaki on Play Store and App Store. Now, you can use Jaki, the digital assistant for all Jakartans, and these are a glimpse of information about Jakarta Smart City. You can learn about us more through our Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Stay tuned and support the development of Jakarta Smart City.
can be called a smart city if it has smart governance, smart people, smart mobility, a smart economy, smart living, and a smart environment. Jakarta is one of the first cities in the country to make such advancements. In recent years, Indonesia has used information and communication technology by introducing a number of applications. This technology is revolutionizing the way society functions, as it is capable of bringing about the establishment of a smart city, a place where the intelligent use of technology is applied to manage resources efficiently and effectively in order to achieve quality and sustainable living. The Jakarta administration runs the Jakarta Smart City, or JSC, a program initiated 4 years ago by former Governor Basuki Cahayapurnama, realizing that the capital must use technology to better serve its residents. The program has 8 channels to which people can file complaints or report any problem they face as Jakartans. A system called Citizen Relation Management is used to convey reports retrieved from the channels to the city officials and working units. According to JSC unit head Setiaji, most of reports come from Clue, a crowdsourcing smartphone app through which users can report incidents such as flooding, crime, fires, and waste-related issues.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, enough for the marketing materials. Yes, as of whole, that's the prepared by our marketing team together with the organizer. So just a few additional words from me. So I think after the COVID-19 situation, yeah, there are a lot of digitalization and also the adoption, yeah, of innovation technology across the agencies. I think that's our hope as well as a smart city to be the change agent in the context of the federal government. We have around 200 to 300 government agencies, and we are working closely, let's say, with the Agency of Health, Transportation, Citizenship, and so on and so forth. So there are quite a number of innovation ideas. For example, like the way we monitor the condition of COVID-19, the way we enter a building based on the so-called application to ensure that there is no so-called positive 19 cases, and so on and so forth. In terms of the education as well, online learning, and also in terms of the transaction, providing the subsidies, a lot of digitalization that has been happening across the agencies and across the Jakarta citizens. I believe for a few, some of you who are staying in Jakarta, feel free to give some questions later on top of the questions that have been prepared by the moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pak Juan, for your further explanation. All right, then. Maybe we can open our discussion about new perspective on the present and future world of data. Yeah, our society currently has been very concerned about our data, especially due to the pandemic factor. On the other hand, our government, both from Singapore and Indonesia, is also trying to handle it with digital transformation based on data-driven policy. Now, we know that from videos and from previous presentation, Jakarta Smart City and GovTech Singapore have a role to assist the government in reforming the public service for society in the present pandemic. So the first question that I wanted to ask to both of you is, what are the Jakarta Smart City or GovTech project that support our government in the pandemic handling? I mean, we already know about HealthCert from the previous presentation and Jackie from JSC videos, but can you explain it more detail about the projects and how is it going until now?
We should start first.
Maybe Bapak Juan can explain it first. Yeah.
Okay, sure, no problem. Thanks for the question. It's a broad question, yeah, and I'll try to highlight several points beyond the video, yeah, so you can get a bit clearer ideas about what has been happening. So as the video mentioned, yeah, so we are in Jakarta, we are using Jaki as our so-called super apps or one-stop service, whereby we provide quite a number of services to the citizens, yeah, like the monitoring dashboard, the self-assessment, risk model, and so on, and so like the online learning and so on. I think what I can highlight is the situation on the ground that can be maybe useful, yeah, for all the audience here, especially for the data practitioners. I think there's a so-called trade-off or consideration between on one hand, we need to provide visibility and also the openness to all our citizens. At the same time, there is also sensitive information like the positive cases in terms of the individual details, and then some of the confidential information that we use it internally for our public policy formulation. I think balancing this part is the clear challenges and at the same time the learning points for us the past 1 year in handling this COVID-19 situation. Just to share some of the ideas here, I think one of the good learning point, we explore a lot of ideas. Some of them are successful, some of them are not really successful, but I think it's a good learning. For example, we did like a contact tracing effort, so we published it via maps and so on, but after we published that, I think there are several concerns by some international organizations, even some of the residents in certain areas as well, and that's why we stopped that to be accessed publicly, but we still have that internally. Secondly, about the public mobility, I think it's a good case study as well. We work very closely with the agency of the transportation, and we are, when there's a restriction in terms of the social mobility, together, like you have heard, by using the Google Waze data and other transportation data, we're able to monitor, yeah, the number of traffic jam, to monitor and also monitor the average speed across Jakarta, across streets in the granular level, and even based on certain CCTV data, we can get the aggregates of the let's say the gathering points in certain locations. I think these are some of the interesting concrete stories, yeah, and some of the applications that we have been driving in the past, let's say, 1 year in this COVID-19 context. For me, final notes as a data practitioner at the head of data analytics, I think I can say that I'm quite happy in the sense in terms of the openness in sharing data, collaboration, and so on. I can testify that it was not happening before this COVID-19 context. But after this COVID-19 context, we really received a lot of data collaboration opportunities within the government, with the national government, with other industries, universities, and so on. I think that's my remarks here for your question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bapak Juan. Now we move to Stephen. How about the health search? Yeah, Stephen. Yeah. How about the health search project?
Sorry, can you repeat that again?
Yeah. How about the health search project that support government in pandemic handling? So, can you explain it more detail? How is it going until now?
Oh, so far so good. Like I think I have a deck that show the page on the page that show that we have 10 health search issuers that's helping 400 plus clinics and labs internationally across I think 30 countries. Yeah, so it's doing great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and right now we are like talking with other government agency as well, other countries to recognize our solution. And then if they need help, they direct them like these are all the open source code that you can use, as well as working with WHO, because we look through their RC1 and working with them closely for the subsequent releases of the specs for the smart vaccination set. Yeah.
Okay, so it's similar like digital passport, right? It's for traveling.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Okay, very good question. There's a lot of confusion about what is digital passport and Brexit and all that. I personally think that a digital passport, the term is a bit too loosely used, and there's too much hype. Digital passport, think of it like because the word passport, right? So you need to show it then before you can go somewhere else. And a lot of time, commercial companies, they are selling their product as a mobile app, and market it as a digital passport. But that's actually quite can be very misleading, because at the end of the day, the word passport has to be decided by the countries. Right, the country have to decide what are the policies, right, to regulate who can come in, who cannot, and if you come in, then do you be subjected to stay home notice and quarantine for how long? This is nothing to do with the private sector. They can't really decide. So it's really for the government to do it. But there's just a lot of hype. So that's one. Number two, the display of your status, vaccination status on a mobile app as a digital passport is also not verifiable, because anybody can take a screenshot and then show you a screenshot, right? So it's just too much hype. The best way to do that is, to show your status is actually through a file. So in this case, it's a JSON file that is signed and then anchored on the blockchain, so people can check for veracity, and then you will not be so susceptible to a screenshot. All right. And then the thing is, when the traffic picks up for travel, the traveler will probably have to submit the document, a health cert document, before you take a plane, right? Call that a pre-arrival clearance. Otherwise, just imagine the airport, everybody will be scanning the QR code, and then you cause a big jam and probably worsen the pandemic with this crowd, right? So long story short, digital passport, I feel the concept sounds good, but there's just too much hype, and implementation wise, I think a lot to be it's quite lacking. So for health certs, what we are doing is, that's why we focus more on the underlying infrastructure, the fundamentals, the code base, the bare minimum code base. When you talk about setting standards and framework, then the private companies like ITAR, Common Pass, and AOK Pass and all that, they can actually store our health cert. So we do not compete with them. All right. So they can have their mobile app, and we have a mobile app, which is SingPass mobile app, but that's really for residents, right? Not really so much for other countries. So for other countries who are keen to use the ITAR Common Pass mobile app, they can use that. And they also can complement health cert, because health cert is basically a certificate, it's a document. Then the mobile app actually provides that convenience to store, to render on an app, and then to share on the app, and generate a dynamic QR for better privacy. So that's how they complement each other. Yeah. So the most important part is actually the cert, not so much of the mobile app. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Can I add a bit more details from Jakarta
Yes,
side? Mbak Dita?
Yes.
Yeah,
you can.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so related to this context as well. So it's a fresh ongoing initiative, yeah, I believe for all Jakartans and especially Indonesians as well. So I think the big keyword here in Indonesia is vaccination, right? So I think this is exactly what I and my team have been doing in the past 2 to 3 weeks. It's a bit tiring to be open. So for the vaccination, we have the direction about the segments, yeah, or the targeted populations.
That's interesting.
Yeah, for example, like the elderly and also like teachers, certain government officials, and so on, right? So I and my team, we are in charge in doing the schedule, so-called automated scheduling. So we know the supply and demand. We know how many vaccines are available, how many citizens need to be vaccinated, and then how about the operational condition, right? About the supply of the hospitals, for example, the puskesmas, and then the small healthcare units, and so on. So we need to schedule accordingly by using certain algorithm. That's the first one. Secondly, we also have the monitoring dashboard based on this simulation, based on the schedule, what will be the coverage, how is the speed, let's say, in terms of the vaccinating all the cities. Just to give you some ideas, let's say by the end of March, we're supposed to vaccinate all the elderly, let's say in Jakarta. So it's a really interesting initiative, and for sure, the ideas of healthcare or like the vaccine status, it will be critical. So right now we are using, let's say, our super apps, Jaki, together with the national peak care. Yeah, it's something like the insurance, the healthcare insurance system. And I think moving forward, the ideas of using this digital certificate will be highly relevant. But one of the on-the-ground context that I can highlight to you, I think in Jakarta, we have quite a number of demography, especially the elderly. It's a bit challenging to expose them to technology. Even some of them, they may not have a mobile phone. Even they have, it may not be the latest one, and so on. So I think we need to really understand the on-the-ground situation, and that's why we are working with the government officials on the ground, let's say like the RT, RW, and so on, to really encourage them, to really approach them, and to ensure the policy and the execution can be aligned and going well hand in hand. I think that's the additional context that can be relevant. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for further explanation, Juan. So let's try to talk about a few things. It's interesting to know that both innovations from Jaki and HealthCert are used for individuals in our society, and of course, a lot of data is absorbed from these applications, right? So this makes me so curious about how do you answer privacy data under the HealthCert and Jaki protocol? Maybe, Pak Juan, can you explain it first?
Okay, sure, no problem. I'll try to be practical. I mean, just a side note as well. Last time I am from the industry as well, and yeah, for Stephen, I stayed in Singapore for quite some time, so I can tell the Singapore context quite well as well. So I think from the beginning, right, even in the industry, privacy is also a concern. Let's say when you talk about customer data, how do you store customer data? What kind of information that you can share? What kind of information that you can manage, you can store, and if the customer asks you to delete the data, are you able to do so? I think this kind of context we also learn, let's say from the GDPR in Europe, and also PDPA, the Personal Data Protection Act in Singapore. So I think for Jakarta context, I'll try to be pragmatic, especially specifically in this COVID-19 context. Since last year, right, I think even in my team, we have around almost 20 people in data team. Not every one of us can access the data for this COVID-19 context. Only a specific dedicated personnels who can access the data. And even within the government, we have the NDA for that. And then there's a specific so-called tools on platform that we need to use and access. So I think that's one context. But the situation can be a bit more complex when we talk about the openness, because at the same same time, we want to keep this so-called this privacy confidential information. At the same time, some people needs to know about the situation about this COVID-19. So balancing these two are the parts, yeah, in handling this. But again, for my case, I'll try to be pragmatic. We define a matrix, what kind of information that can be aggregated and can be shared publicly, and what kind of information that strictly cannot be accessed. I think we start from there. And then in terms of the development of the ideas of the innovation, it depends on the tools or the solution itself. It can be about application, it can be about website, it can be about API, it can be about transactional systems. So there are many varieties, but in the kernel or the center of it, I think we try to keep the citizen data as strict as possible. Let's say, especially about the citizen ID, about the full name, about the full address. Right? I think we are not distributing that information even to other agencies. So I think these are some of the ideas. For sure, there are room for improvement. There are, I think, in terms of the speed, we need to be faster. We need to be clear what kind of information that can be categorized as confidential, as information is not confidential. So by doing this, I think we can expedite some of our initiatives. But this is where we are right now. So I think moving forward, hopefully this kind of areas can be improved, and for sure we can learn from other countries like Singapore. So I think that's my remarks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Juan. Okay, maybe we can move to Stephen, yeah?
Thank you. So for us, maybe let me touch on even before the pandemic hit us, we already have a pretty well-defined data security classification, like based on what kind of data and how sensitive it is restricted. So the various, and then what is required, what is acceptable to secure it. So that's one. So already have it in place. Before I go into the health certs implementation. So for health certs, think of it like you have a document, paper document, right? And then there are fields in there that is sensitive, for example, your NRIC, or maybe the result of the test and whatnot, or passport number. So what we do is we do a triple hash. For the first hash is basically we hash that the value itself. Okay. So you have the value on the cert as well as a hash representation of that value itself. So this will allow selective disclosure. I'll come to that later on. So for all this value is all hashed, installed in the document as well. And then at the end of the bottom of the document, so this document will subsequently be hashed. This is the second layer of hash of the entire document. So this will help think of a hash like a unique identifier. I'll not go into this. I assume people understand that the hash is basically one way. It's not encryption, it's not decryption, so there's no way you can do that. So the second layer of hash. And then when you want to, or say the health cert issuer wants to anchor it, use the word anchor on the blockchain, right? He doesn't anchor the health cert itself. He anchors the hash. And then he'll take a bunch of health certs, many health certs document, batch it together, all right, and then generate another hash. Okay, another hash of this like, I don't know, 10,000 or 1,000 document, depending on how large the batch size he so desire, right? So you generate hash. And then so you have 3 layers hash, right? Hash of the value, hash of the document, and then hash of the whole entire batch. And then in each of this document, you have a cryptographic proof of its sibling. So you think of it like a binary tree or Merkle root, right? So in order to prove the veracity of this document, you first of all, you need the hash of this document and you need the hash of its siblings. And then you can go up traverse through the Merkle root. So at the end of the day, on the Ethereum, what we have there is just one root hash of this whole batch, all right? And then you can verify the veracity, authenticity of this document, because inside this document, you have the hash of this document and its hash of its siblings. And then also the hash of the root, right, the ancestor. And then when you click and drag this document or you scan the QR code, right, onto verify.gov.sg, it will compute basically this hash and check whether it's on the blockchain. So basically, even though because the blockchain is immutable and it's open and transparent, anybody can inspect. But because we don't put any PII, right, personal identifiable information on the blockchain, so it's absolutely secure. So there's nothing to hack because it's just a bunch of hash. And hashing is irreversible. Just imagine with a 3-layer hash. So So you can't derive anything from the hash anyway. And the good thing is that the document is actually within your e-wallet, all right? It's an email and all that. Think of it like a piece of paper that you hold it somewhere else. So unless you willingly share it out, no one else can have access to it. So this is how more detailed implementation of health cert is
All right. Thank you. Okay. Okay. This is my sequence, yeah, actually. But before we move to another discussion with Juan and Stephen, actually there are a couple of questions from our audience that I would like to bring up sort of them into our next topic, yeah. Maybe the SW committee can help me to choose the questions. All right, from Andre Fo, during the process for digital transformation, what are the challenges that you face when applying these projects? Maybe you can tell us from how to get the data, how the data processing, and how implement the application in society. Yeah, because we know, yeah, our society is have many backgrounds, so maybe it's quite challenging, I think. So maybe Bapak Juan first, you can answer how about implementation of Jaki and what's the challenge?
Okay, thanks for the question. And I think digital transformation is a very big topic. Just to be concrete, I think this year onwards, we have a clear policy and program about digital transformation across agencies triggered by the post-so-called COVID-19 context. So I'll try to be specific here. I think there are various aspects that have been mentioned by the questioner. I think about the processing, application, and so on. But even if this is my personal so-called reflection and opinion and experience so far, I think those areas are relatively less complicated, if I may say. I think there are other areas that will be more critical. Later I will give you explanation and mention to you what they are. So the first one is actually the mentality or mindset. The second one is the skill set or talents. I think these two areas are very complex, a bit more difficult to foster and to build on top beyond the areas that it has been mentioned by the questioner, right? So I think why the mentality? Because if you talk about digital transformation, right, I think it's not merely implementing technology. It's actually the change of mindset that we need to be more efficient, we need to be faster, we need to be impactful, and we need to work together with quite a number of parties. So it's not only, it can be from our own division, it can be with other agencies, it can be in the broader sense with the society. For example, in Smart City, we have the so-called vision to work together with the government agency, industry, university, research institutions, and so on. So I think talking about digital transformation, I think how to align the movement together and then determining which areas that have the most impact, it is very, very complicated, and having the right talents to work together. For sure, we want more and more agencies, citizen societies to be, let's say, more data-driven, more digital savvy, and so on and so forth. But I think we need to move step by step. So if I may reflect and if I may share based on my experience, those areas are the two most complicated one. And then in a nutshell, in terms of digital transformation, we need to align the sort of the people, technology, process, policy, and also adoption. So I think those areas will be the key elements of a successful digital transformation, in my opinion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Bapak Juan. And now we are having Stephen. How about your perspective, Stephen?
Yeah, I agree with what Juan said. A lot of it is going to do with mindset, and I personally feel that one of the I say the challenges that we face, a lot of it are less to do with technology, but more to do with mindset and maybe some policy as well. Because at the rate that we need to respond to this pandemic is not a normal situation. So policy, processes they are optimized for the mainstream majority of the use cases, but this is an exceptional situation. But that's one. We do have challenges with regards to implementing, for example, like what I think the previous question on privacy and inclusion, right? And John mentioned that and like this for Singapore, we also have seniors who are not digitally savvy, and that's not easy to handle when it comes to digital technology. So it's important to, I call that in order to be inclusive, right? We often have more than one solution to solve the same problem. For example, for the safe entry, right? We actually allow the citizens, all right, to use the NRIC card to scan, right, to be scanned, sorry, to be scanned by the premise to check in. Because some of them, if they do not have a mobile device and all that, so that's one way. Another way is we actually issue that token, the white color pebble thing, the Trace Together token. They can take and then they just present it and then they will tap and then so they can go in. But at the same time, there are folks who more digitally advanced, they don't want to carry that token, they want to use the app, then they say, oh, they were concerned with their privacy, you know, like the health cert, then they want more, they're power user, right? And we have to cater to them. And they have basically they have different needs, the demographic. So it's I call it there's like three points. One angle of the triangle is being inclusive. So being inclusive, one way is to do it down to the lowest common denominator, so everybody can use, all right? But it may not be very privacy preserving, all right? So you want to have privacy preserving, all right? Then it may not be inclusive because it actually creates complexity, all right? So the third one is a complexity. How do you run a thing? So it's always a balance between the three. And as far as I've seen, there's no one solution that can have all three. So a lot of time you may need to have two solutions. One is more on the simplicity, that's simple and inclusive, and the other one is more on privacy preserving side. Then it can help to accommodate cover the all areas. So that's one. So it's really a mental model that at least it has guided me over the past 1 year to handle this kind of trade-off and challenges. Another thing is that because GovTech has been there for I think 6 years, I can't remember. So we actually have built up that engineering capability for quite a while. I'm actually employee number 10 in GDS, Government Digital Services, when I joined about 7 years ago. So right now, Government Digital Services has about 400 plus people. So we have come a long way over the past few years, and we have a pretty strong engineering team building products over the past few years before COVID hit us. And that's one of the reasons why we are able to respond quite well. So this is a foundation that I do not take for granted. And if this COVID hit us a few years ago, then I think we'll be scrambling, won't be able to deal with it so effectively. And then the third one would be data security and a single source of truth. We call it SSOT. So for the type of data, for example, like household data, medical data and all that, we actually identify a single source of truth and create a trusted center so that we will know exactly if you want this data, which agency do we go, where to get it, so that we know that if anything is wrong with the data and all that, so this is the agency be responsible to fix it. Otherwise, people will be pulling data from all over the place. So we are pretty fortunate to have this established before COVID, and it has come to great use when COVID hit us and we need to get data. So these are the three tips I have on how to overcome the challenges. Thank you. I think you're on mute.
Oh, yeah. All right. Okay, thank you so much, Juan and Stephen, for this discussion. Yeah. Today's talk is very, very interesting for me, and I'm so glad to having you here despite of your very, very busy schedule. Now, maybe for I want to summarize our discussion here. This discussion is very interesting. There are a lot of new things that I learned during this process. There are digitalization projects during this pandemic, data privacy of our society while the project is running, and how the public can respond to pandemic by complying our health protocols and following policies that have been announced by our government. Okay, I think right now we are approaching to the end of the session. I want to inform you guys that we are going to have a virtual photo session. So I would like to invite some of my colleagues who are organizing this event. Maybe Alam Shah Koto Hamzah as the chairman of Data Science Indonesia and Nabil Musin Bajri as vice chairman of Data Science Indonesia can join us to virtual stage.
Hello.
Hello, Mas
Hi,
Hello.
Hello, Steven.
Hello, Steven.
hi, Baj.
Juan.
Okay, let's take a photo together. Okay, let's take a photo together with Juan and Steph, yeah? And please give me the best smile you can have, okay? I will count. 1, 2, 3. Okay, another one maybe?
Okay.
Juan.
1, 2, 3. Okay,
Thank
to
you.
all of you, thank you
Mas
so
Juan.
much.
Thank you,
Thank
Steven.
you, everybody.
Juan.
Mas Juan.
Thank
Thank you,
you,
Steven.
Steph. Thank you, Alam, and thank you, Nabil, for joining us.
Have a
Thanks,
good weekend. Bye-bye.
Okay, I hope you have a wonderful session, yeah, but unfortunately, because of the limited time, so we will end the session. Okay, guys, Data Science Weekend 2021 will be attended by more than 30 experts in the fields of business, data, technology, research, and policy. Don't forget to follow our Instagram account, Data Science Weekend at Data Science Weekends and Data Science Indonesia at Data Science Indonesia for the further information, tips, and other programs in Data Science Indonesia. Plus, data people, please stay safe and healthy, stay social distancing, but digitally connecting. I'm Dita Amalia, and good morning, happy weekend.